Welcome, everyone, to Prop It Up. It's my favorite time of the week. It's 4 o'clock Eastern Times, which of course means the weekend has officially started, and we are on to the NFL Conference Championships. We have NBA props, NHL props, college basketball props, and we are here to give you all the best information to make this a profitable weekend. Joining me, my fellow prop kings, mid-major Matt and Andrew McInnis. We've only got 2 NFL games to go over, and we're just going to take it team by team. So we're going to start and go over the Packers, then we'll go over the Bucs, then the Chiefs, then the Bills to give you as much information as we can on those teams. We'll give out some free picks. Andrew, I'm going to go to you. NHL has started, and we got NBA season, NFL. You're really busy, so tell the people what you've been concentrating on the last week or so.
Yeah, it's good to be back on the prop show. Season's winding down, kind of upsetting. It's been fun doing this every Friday with you guys, but we're going to have a great show for the big game. So that'll be a lot of fun. But NHL, NBA, hosting puck time now, so keep them busy, and it's a good feeling to be busy. But with the NHL, I got to admit, it's different. There's different scheduling, there's different divisions. So, it's been okay. I'm hitting my 4% plays, 5% plays, but the 2% and the extra add-on plays haven't been great. So I'll try and shape that up for going into the weekend. As far as the prop plays go, I've been keeping it very light. A couple of goal scorer props and still monitoring the NBA stuff, but not killing it like you are, Andy. So hats off to you.
Thanks. Matt, what have you been concentrating on the last week or so?
Well, it's the NFL and college basketball season. Unfortunately, I just had a game scratched tonight. The Boise State-Fresno State game, COVID issues for Boise State, so I lost that game, unfortunately, from my card for tonight. But yeah, a lot of college basketball. Also getting ready for college football because the FCS is in about a month, and so, the mid-major guy is going to go and do some FCS football, so I got to start doing some research for that. There are teams that are dropping out from the FCS, but looking forward, there's always some value no matter the sport, as Andrew showed with KBO. I'm going to find mine in FCS football coming up next month.
Oh, that's so great! I completely forgotten about that. I can't wait to get your get your information on that. So let's just get right into it, guys. We got 2 games that look amazing. Shocking news that Mahomes was cleared to play. I can't believe it. I am stunned that they were able to get him through protocol. Antonio Brown is out, so those are the 2 big injuries to worry about. So let's just start with the Packers. Matt, I'll go to you first. From a Packers prop perspective, what are you expecting from this game? Things you like, things you don't like?
So, you know me, I like to focus on some of the quarter stuff, statistically at least. The Green Bay Packers, number 1 in first half points, 18.7. The irony is, and I've never actually broken it down, they average almost 14 points per second quarter. So for those who look at the first quarter and think, okay, well, they're really good in the first half, it's more so what they do in the second quarter. They're the best second quarter team in the league. They are third, allowing 10.2 points per first half, so there could be a bit of a slow start for the Tampa Bay Bucs. I think last week we saw about Alan Lazard. I know how much Andrew loves MVS, and I'll let him take that. But with regards to Alan Lazard, Sean Murphy-Bunting is the slot corner for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's allowed a catch rate of 76.8% this season, nearly 9 yards per target and 7 touchdowns. So once again, Alan Lazard comes into play. Be careful, though. There are some books that are offering 4.5 receptions. There are some books offering 3.5 receptions. The only reason why I know that is because FanDuel, which is now in Virginia, thank goodness, has 3.5 for Lazard. He's 4.5 everywhere else. So if you have that, make sure to take advantage of it. Quickly, remember, there is another time that these two played. It was one of the Packers' worst games that they've played all year. They lost 38-10 against the Buccaneers. And Andrew brought this up, and we talked about that one week, the 2.5 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers passing. I mean, it's plus 140. I mean, it's you. Even if it doesn't win, it's a bet you have to make it plus 140 for the big Bleep U tour that Aaron Rodgers is on. So those are kind of the things I'm focusing on there.
All right, Andrew, I know you and I are big MVS fans. I'm assuming you're going to go back to him again. Other than him, what are some other things that you're seeing from the Packers side of the ball?
It's so cliche to say this, but I thought I was ready and prepared and had a great matchup to talk about. And then Matt just said everything I was going to say.
Oh, sorry about that.
You look at it with that matchup with Sean Murphy-Bunting. That's the projection for Lazard. He's giving up 5 inches and 30 pounds to the slot corner. that's, something that stuck out to me right away. I saw that on numerous reports when they were looking at this matchup and different fantasy projections. That's one thing about Alan Lazard, which is why he's having such success, is that whenever he found someone that's undersized, he's gotten far more targets. He's been a lot more active, and the yards after the catch has just been extraordinary. And that's, it was unbelievable looking at both Lazard and Valdez-Scantling to just see, first of all, how low their numbers were for last week, but secondly, just taking a look at what they were able to do just even momentarily after they caught the ball was impressive. But Lazard and the over 2.5 passing touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers were two looks that I was taking a look at. And, we could talk about receivers. We can talk about game management. But as far as this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team goes, I know we know the experience that Tom Brady has, but I've been doing pretty well, guys, with these running back props over the past couple weeks here. I think Leonard Fournette over 42.5 yards is actually one of my favorite running back props for the weekend.
I'm looking at one of the biggest untalked about, if that's a phrase, storylines. That's Tampa Bay getting Vita Vea back. I don't know what game shape he's going to be in. If he's back to where he was, then that defensive line becomes back to the elite run stopping, and I would look to the under in Aaron Jones. The problem is if he isn't in shape and he's gassed and he's not completely healthy and they're just activating him as kind of a shot in the dark on this, then you might look at Aaron Jones over. I know in the last game, the Packers had real problems trying to run to the edges, and they've been open and said, we're not going to make that mistake again. We're not going to try and get Jamal Williams or Aaron Jones to the edge. If we're going to run, we're going to run straight up the middle. With Vea there, I don't know, Matt. What do you think from the running game from the Packers? Is this injury coming back? Is it going to be full strength? I know I'm asking you to guess at something. How do you take the Packers running game?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, A.J. Dillon, I don't know if they actually – I guess he's questionable. I missed the designation. So they have him and they have Jamal Williams now, so they kind of have been using all three. The thing to look at here is the Bucs have allowed the fifth most fantasy points through the air to running backs. So they're catching passes. So maybe if you don't take the over for his yards rushing, you look at his yards receiving. I know it's weird. It's 3.5 receptions for him, but it's 23.5 yards. I believe the longest 10.5, so maybe you look more at his receiving side than his rushing side.
Guys, Andy, we've talked
Andrew.
about the prices, but on these anytime touchdown props, right? And taking a look at it right now, this is from the FanDuel Sportsbook. Mike Evans plus 145, Chris Godwin plus 160, Leonard Fournette plus 130. The more I look at this, the more I like the plus 160 here on Chris Godwin. I feel like when Mike Evans has been targeted, and it's been quite obvious that, we're going to go to him, rely on him quite heavily, the adjustment has been very quick from Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense to go to Godwin and find him. If he gets a good matchup and, he's not getting too roughed up out there, I think he's a good look and it's a decent plus price.
I'm just going to play Marquez Valdez-Scantling over 29.5 yards. I think they're going to spread the ball out. If you look at his bad games, it's when Devontae Adams has gone ballistic.
Exactly.
Or Aaron Jones has gone nuts. But when they're in close games, they use him a lot. The overtime game against the Colts, he went over. The game they needed him in against the Bears, he went over. He went over 8 targets last week. So if you can find maybe targets, completions, or I'm going to stick with the yards, 29.5. I've already played that, so I would play Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
By the way, there's I also saw an Equanimeous St. Brown prop under 10.5 yards. Which, me, I love these smaller guys. I feel like I looked at his.
I love you. It is why I love you.
Well, I'm just saying. I looked at him. He either has one catch for a big gain, or he has nothing. So I feel like I might wait and see if the over starts getting some love, and maybe it goes up from 10.5. But he was just. I mean, he's another guy that was on the list, so I just wanted to bring him up.
It's wonderful. It's why you're the best in the business, man. It really is. So
just to keep your head scratching a little bit, just wondering who's that guy again?
Yeah, should we pause as everybody in the YouTube room pulls up another
He's from Notre
browser
Dame.
and
Come on, no.
Googles?
Come on, he's Notre Dame. Come on.
All right, let's move to the other side of the ball. Let's talk Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Antonio Brown is out, so Brady's not going to have one of his favorite weapons Boy, can you imagine if that Mike Evans injury would have been worse? I mean, it looked like that knee was really bad. I mean, gosh, imagine coming into Lambeau Field with no Mike Evans and no Antonio Brown. So, Matt, what are you looking at for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? I got to be honest, I did not think Brady looked amazing last week. I think they went up against a banged-up Drew Brees. That's why they got the win. How are you looking to attack this Tampa Bay team from a props perspective?
So first off, it's Mike Evans over 4.5 receptions. Whenever he has a slow game, they always force feed him. I mean, if you look, he has 66 targets over his last 8 games. He's second in red zone targets behind Devontae Adams. He's coming off of Marshawn Lattimore, who may still be covering him now. He might have followed him to Lambeau. I don't know. But, he's going to, I was reading about, he may avoid Jair Alexander, who's a lineup on one side guy instead of shadowing. Plus, they're using Evans more in the slot. The other guy I love, and you'll probably laugh because I think his props aren't really out there, are Scotty Miller. I mean, with no Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller's his outlet. And I feel like we could get a lower number on his yards. I haven't seen any props out yet on Scotty Miller. We will, I'm sure, with Antonio Brown out. Finally, Gronk is the most intriguing guy in this offense because he's done nothing. So there was a prop on FanDuel that I might take a shot on, depending upon the price. I might look at over 10.5 yards for his first reception. You're probably thinking, wait a second, he doesn't get the ball a lot. So I wrote this down. So the last 4 games, he's had 12 targets. He's had 5 receptions. Those 5 receptions were for 14, 18, 11, 33, and 25 yards. And so if he doesn't get used a lot, then there's going to be a push and I get my money back. But if he does get the ball, I think there's a good chance that he's going to get a decent, healthy reception against the Packers on Sunday.
Nice. Andrew, what do you like about Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
So, Andy, I proved to you that I can't follow instructions nor listen to instructions or orders at all by touching already on the Buccaneers game a little bit. So guess I was just so used to breaking down both games, and it's Friday. Come on, give me a break. You already said it yourself. The weekend started. We're on the show. Look, I'm with Matt. I like the Mike Evans receptions, not as much yards. I feel like he's just old reliable. He has amazing hands, and I think that he'll be that guy that's going to be for the quick 10-yard play, the quick first down or that kind of stuff, running slants and not really just running those 40-yard plays. So I like the receptions there. Like I said, I really believe that I think this is going to be a high-scoring game in general. But when you look at it and you look what Leonard Fournette has been able to do, he's been hard to tackle. He's been slippery. I mean, he's going up the middle and just getting those extra yards per play. And if we look back at it, to what's made this Tampa Bay team successful, it has been to be able to spread out their offense. It has been the amount of talented guys they have. We know it. I mean, Mid-Major Matt is mentioning Scotty Miller. I think Miller is going to be a great, addition to anyone's prop list this week or fantasy list this week. But when it comes down to it, controlling the line of scrimmage will be huge in this game. I also think Aaron Jones will have to play a factor. I think he actually might get a touchdown in this game. But Leonard Fournette is a player I'm watching out for this week, and I've read quite a bit about that he will have to be used for a good amount. And that prop that we're getting on him, let me just pull it up again what that number was, 42.5 is what's currently listed at FanDuel.
I am focusing on a tight end from the Buccaneers as well. It is not Gronkowski. It is Mr. Cameron Brate, who has suddenly become a popular target for Tom Brady. 5 targets against the Saints, 4 catches for 50 yards. Against the football team, he had 6 targets, 4 catches for 80 yards. I'm looking at his props right now. His reception total is 2.5. He's easily gone over that the last couple games. And his yards is 26.5. So this is a guy that caught for 80 yards in the first playoff game, 50 yards in the second playoff game. And we know Brady, he really doesn't care who the ball goes to. Like you mentioned, Scotty Miller, I'm sure we're going to see some props on. So if Cameron Brate is open, if they're trying to dial in on Mike Evans and they're trying to dial in on Gronk, he has no problem finding Cameron Brate. So I would look to scroll down past some of those big names and look at your Cameron Brate props. So
it's interesting, Andy. It really is. Like, especially come playoff time, some teams are going to get the top heavy. We're going to get the amount of receptions for your Stephon Diggs guys of the world. But I found over the past couple of weeks, it has been quite obvious that we have been able to get like that Scantling prop. What was it, like 37.5 or 34? I can't remember what you said, but last week it wasn't too high either. I'm with you. I mean, that's a great prop. 2.5 for over receptions. It's a great prop.
Thank you. Yeah, last week it was actually 27 They didn't even get it to 30 yards last week on that.
So then do you like Gronk then under 2.5 receptions or under 28.5 yards?
If I'm looking at Gronk, I'm looking at Gronk to catch a touchdown. I mean, we say Brady has no problem throwing to other people. He likes throwing to Gronk short, inside the 5-yard line. That we haven't seen that patented little where like they line up and then all of a sudden Gronk's on the line of scrimmage and Gronk's single covered out to the side and then they throw that little fade. I don't know what to expect from Gronk. He had a catch go off his fingertips that would have completely changed his props last week. But I've just watched Cameron Brate get open and Brady's hit him. I mean, 4 catches on 5 targets, 4 catches on 6 targets. That's the efficiency Tom Brady loves. Yeah. He's got good hands, and he's kind of one of those forgotten. I don't, he's not forgotten, but he's just one of those lesser guys that is easy to slip through the linebackers and be open. So
I love that so much. Just seeing a random linebacker just a random huge guy just in the end zone. Nobody was looking at him whatsoever.
How did you miss him?
yeah. And they're always wide open. Whenever it works, they're always wide open with nobody near them. But I think it's a good point about Gronk to mention as well that he actually has just done an outstanding job blocking. I think I mentioned that 2 weeks ago on the show. There was actually videos going around, and his brothers were actually touching on, wow, how impressed they are with his blocking on the side and how he really has bought in. Because let's face it, there's not too much drama on this team, but a lot of guys sometimes they want to get their fix. They want to get their amount of receptions, a lot of hands to feed. Gronk is just happy to be there. He said he won the AFC. He's going to the AFC championships last week. He had to get corrected by Ronald Jones. I mean, he is happy to be there. And that's why I'm right there with Andy, that if I'm looking at Gronk, it's looking at him in the end zone. And if not, just to be a role guy.
Well, I will say if you're depending on Leonard Fournette at this point as your main back, you're going to need all the help you can get on the blocking front. So you're right. Gronk is probably going to be there. So Matt, last week, I think we were all over the Ryan Suckup prop. And I think it hit in the first half.
Yes.
And then earlier today, Prez asked me about it, and I got to say, I don't find value in any kickers this week. I don't know if you have found some. I just think Tampa and Green Bay, I think they're going to need touchdowns to win that game. I think you see a lot of 4th down attempts if they come up. I didn't know what to do in Buffalo, Kansas City, so I wanted to get your take on the kickers props this week.
Feels like, and this is going to be an obvious statement, there's a big difference between 6.5 and 7.5. In terms of how you get there. Obviously, the 1 point difference. Yes, I know. I was expecting Andrew to be like, yeah, it's 1 point different or somebody, because that was what I would say. But like, it's just visually, it's like the 6.5. All you need is 2 field goals and the touchdown. 7.5, you need 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to get there, but it's just, yeah, I didn't like anything for any of the kickers. Outdoors elements involved. No, you got some, riverboat gambler types. So no, I didn't like anything with the kickers.
With the kicker props, I'm looking at, a huge stacked NFL Sunday with a bunch of games to find that one kicker. And games like this, I'm just sticking to the players. Or I shouldn't even say it like that. The players. They are players. That reminds me, actually, I saw Pat McAfee had actually a player on the Steelers that said kickers weren't actual NFL players. That kickers weren't football players. Like, it's funny I say that after watching that, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing when we take kicker props, you're really looking at like sputtering offenses in the red zone, like quarterbacks that really can't punch it in.
Horrible third down conversion rates.
Yes, but we got the Packers and the Chiefs and the Bills and
indoor games. We don't have
indoor games.
We have cold places that with wind and potential snow or precipitation. So no, thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. What if there is weather? Do we go under? If
the kickers?
If we wake up Sunday morning and it's like, oh my gosh, there's wind, there's rain, or do we just stay away and say, hey, we can find value elsewhere?
I think we stay away from the kickers.
If you guys were looking at a kicker or at a game to bet field goals, which one would it be?
If I had to, I would still stick with Ryan Suckup. He's been good. He's cashed tickets. I don't trust Butker, and I think Green Bay is the most likely team to go for it on 4th downs out of all 4 of them.
You know what? I would think because he said game, I would go the AFC game. I mean, while Butker can't kick extra points, he's kicking field goals. And Tyler Bassett's been pretty good, but yeah, it's just stop trying to get me to take a kicker this weekend, guys. We got enough stuff. I'm looking at fourth string wide receivers for Green Bay. Come on now.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you're in the room right now and you like what you hear, just give us a little thumbs up, please. It helps. And want to give you guys a little promo here. Our own Matt Joseph on sportsmemo.com is giving a killer deal. Buy 1 week, all access, get 1 week free. Can't beat that. Buy one, get one. So you can get all of Matt's football, college basketball. What Matt? What all does that include?
That's it. You got it. College basketball and the NFL. That's about it right now.
That's awesome. Buy 1 week, get one free. That's Matt Joseph over at sportsmemo.com. All right, let us move on to the next one. Chiefs and the Bills. Chiefs are going to have Mahomes. I guess the big question is, okay, he's out of concussion protocol, but the toe, is that going to affect him a whole lot? Matt, I'll go to you first. Let's start with the Chiefs. What are you looking at from the Chiefs' perspective for player props?
So you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs first. Okay, we will do that. All right. So first off, by the way,
which team is it again?
The home team for
just one team.
The Andy Reid team. First off, so let's get into the fact that these two teams also played. It was on a Tuesday, remember, because it was a day after the Monday night game between the Bucs and the Packers. And I don't think we can really take too much from it because, remember, that was the rain and win game. It was a 26-17 win for the Chiefs. So you can refer a little bit to it. I mean, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 161 yards rushing. That's not happening again. He's not going to have 161 yards the rest of the season combined, probably. With regards to the Chiefs side, I mean, obviously you're looking at Kelsey. I know last week I said, oh, you got to take 2 Kelsey touchdowns. I mean, I was probably wrong. You got to take the free space in Kelsey's 1 touchdown and probably sprinkle a little on the 2nd touchdown. Once again, I'm probably looking at Tyreek Hill's longest reception. It hit really quick. I think it was his first reception last week was the longest one. It's 25 and a half at some places, 24 and a half. When you look at the Chiefs, the Bills this year have struggled with tight ends. Their 5th most fantasy points they've allowed, 92 receptions, which is the 2nd most in the league. So that just adds more things to Travis Kelce. But I mean, I think, and I don't know about you guys, everybody's talking about Mahomes and the concussion. His turf toe is probably acting up too. So I'm not exactly loving Mahomes' rushing yards here. If he doesn't have to, I don't think he's going to run.
Andrew, what do you like from the Chiefs' perspective?
Well, first of all, just like you said, Andy, hard to believe this guy didn't pass concussion protocol. I mean, I'm just shocked that he's actually playing in this game right now. I can't believe it. I'm actually going to go ahead here and take Patrick Mahomes under his passing yards of 310. I believe that this game will actually be decided with pace, and it will be the running game, just like KC does a lot of the time. They'll randomly surprise you with a pretty strong run game, and I think that's kind of where I'm going to single it out. Is going to be Patrick Mahomes under. I think both teams actually will get there as far as their rushing yards go. I'm going with Devin Singletary over the 41.5. That number is actually climbing since that's gone out. I believe
Andrew, you know what team he plays for, right?
Yeah, sorry. I was getting at we're always talking about every matchup. We usually talk about every matchup, so I'm just getting into all of them. Sorry, I'll leave it at that. Only play I have locked in is that Mahomes under, and I'm debating Kelsey because Andy pretty much cashes it on it every single week, so might as well start taking it too.
I mean, sometimes it's, sometimes we overthink some of these props. I mean, 7.5 catches I see for Kelsey right now. This is hit in 8 out of 9 games. Mahomes hobbling around. He's going to go to his security blanket. That's Kelsey. And then if he is struggling to throw the deep ball, he's going to go to Kelsey. And when we get in the red zone, he's going to go to Kelsey. So I'm shocked that the number is still 7.5.
What stops it from hitting then? What stops it from hitting?
I don't know. Matt brought up the same prop I brought up. 92 receptions given up to tight ends. So not only is Kelsey, the best tight end in the league, he's playing against the worst tight end defense in the league, arguably.
Now, part of that was that stretch when they didn't have Matt Milano, the linebacker, who is the one who covers it. But still, it's Travis Kelce. And if you go back to that game, even though it was a rain game, Kelce had 7 targets, 5 catches for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game in October. So he didn't hit the receptions there, but he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Andrew, you're on the other side as me. I put this in our Slack channel. I am stunned to see Devin Singletary's rushing and receiving at 63.5. So I'm going to go to you first because I couldn't find any numbers to back this play up. You see something, so we're on opposite sides, which makes for great discussion. So tell me what you see with Devin Singletary.
Well, look, I mean, so it opened up at 39.5. You need just 10 carries at 4.4 yards per carry is what we've actually seen from him, what I expect to see from him. And I think the running defense is going to be weak here. I mean, they're not going to expect it. They're going to expect this to be kind of a shootout style game. And I mentioned that I feel like the Chiefs are going to have a quality run game as well, but I'm not playing props on them. But I think we're not really asking too much out of him, and just involving him in the game more, I believe they will go to him. And I said that the other game is going to be battle of the line of scrimmage, but I feel like more than any other game we've seen over the past couple of weeks in a big game, this game is going to shock a lot of people with, the amount of points where it gets scored. This could be a sneaky under. We could see a lot of unders for receivers. But I think as far as Devin Singletary goes, he'll get his touches. And that's kind of what I'm looking at here. And I saw what you mentioned in our group chat, and I understand. But I would agree with that rushing and receiving. I wouldn't take him on the receptions. I just believe he'll get a favorable amount of touches here. And if I can, I think I really do like Stephon Diggs as well over his receptions, not yards. He potentially and could definitely obviously get both. But you use the security blanket phrase every now and then, and that's talking about Kelsey with the Chiefs. But I really feel like with Diggs right now, do you guys see like their interviews? Like they're literally buddies. Like Josh Allen is like they're friends. Like they're having a good time together. And I don't care what anybody says. That makes a huge difference. They already have good chemistry off the field and on the field. Even if it isn't like a 40-yard bomb, I still think Stephon Diggs gets over his receptions.
Matt, your thoughts first off on the Singletary prop, and then anything else you're noticing with the Buffalo Bills.
So I can't take the over on Singletary. I just can't. I mean, and this is actually good. I hope everybody listens to Andrew, takes the over, and then the yardage goes up because he's had 16 touches the last 2 weeks. I mean, and if you go back, he's got 25, 21, 7, 36 yards rushing his last 4. Then he had a 68 on 8 carries. Hey, he just doesn't get the ball enough. And I think they'll run it more because they had that whole first quarter where they only ran it once. He'll get the ball more. But I couldn't take the over in terms of his rushing. Even in that game in October, when it was weather conducive for them to run the ball, he still ran it 10 times for 32 yards. And so he's not getting enough carries that for some reason, who is it? It's TJ Yeldon that they have there. And I think they have Devonta Freeman or somebody else there. I got to go under now with regards to rushing and receiving here. I can't go under that because I don't want to add the receiving part in. He's had 3 receptions the last 2 games each. He's had 3 receptions before many times. I mean, he is a threat to catch the ball. So if I was to do anything, it would be the under for the rushing for Singletary. They're going to have to rush it more, but they're not a good enough running team, and I think Allen can run it. With regards to Diggs, the Kansas City Chiefs have allowed just 3 wide receivers all year to have 6 catches and 92 yards against them. There's some sort of mumbo-jumbo. Their secondary is not that good, but there's something about the way they play defense that they just minimize the damage when it comes to wide receivers. I'm still debating if I have enough courage to go under on Josh Allen's passing yards. I don't think I do, but it's a way I would lean because I just don't think the Bills' offense is going to have as much success as these numbers are saying.
I think I don't say all in, but my belief is that Singletary goes under. So this will be a really good one to revisit.
Andy, what was the stat you had about the Raiders in their victories? Wasn't it like you said that when they run the ball or when they pass the ball heavily? Remember that stat you and I were talking about a while ago?
Yeah, when they win, Josh Jacobs does well in player props, and Derek Carr does terrible. And when they lose, Josh Jacobs is awful and Derek Carr is great because there's all that garbage time.
So Kansas City, sole loss, or talk when they've lost to the Raiders rushed the ball 35 times against the Chiefs. 35 times, and we're asking this guy to get over 41 yards. 31. I mean, there's going to be some game planning. They're expecting Josh Allen working his magic throwing the ball. I like Josh Allen over on his rushing yards as well. I really think that they're not going to be the team that KC knows them to be.
Yeah.
So here's the thing I was looking at. Sorry, Andy.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm looking at his Devin Singletary's splits page on ESPN. When they're ahead, he's had 89 carries this year, and obviously since they've been winning a lot, he's been in there. But when they're behind, he has 30 carries for 82 yards. When they're tied, he has 37 carries for 166 yards. You figure the Chiefs should be able to score here. The Bills' defense is not as good as they looked last week. So if they're getting behind, then I think they're like the Eagles. They'll just abandon the run and throw it every down. So that's my worry there with regards to Singletary.
Yeah, I'm in this. I saw that Josh Allen threw for 20 straight plays for the Bills. I keep telling people that the Zach Moss injury is a bigger deal. I think they and I think that they had a mental switch where they said, all right, Zach Moss is out. We are just a 75% passing team. So it'll be interesting to look at. Dawson Knox, Matt, we had a question about him. Nate Dogg wants to know. Dawson Knox over 2.5 receptions. Any thoughts there?
So I'm pulling up now the Kansas City Chiefs against tight ends. In terms of Yahoo, they've given up the 8th most fantasy points to the tight end position. I mean, from what I could tell here is if you target the tight end, you're going to have some success. But there's a lot of mediocre tight ends. Like looking at this, Gronk had 6 catches for 106 yards. Brate had 4 catches for 34 yards. It feels like depending upon how much the tight end is in your offense, which I don't think Dawson Knox hit his props last week. Or was that 2 weeks ago? He had one bad game in the playoffs so far. I don't remember if it was this week or last week. He's too variable for me, so I'm not interested. Probably the number 2 guy would be Cole Beasley for me, not Dawson Knox.
Okay, well, he's had 2 receptions in each of the 2 playoff games, so 2.5 hasn't quite got there. And he only had 3 targets against Colts and 2 targets against the Ravens. So he's efficient, just not a lot of volume there. So I think what we would tell you, Nate Dogg, is there's value elsewhere. So I am looking at this. I talked about Kelsey. Sometimes you overthink it. Let me just read you Stephon Diggs' game logs. All right.
This should be fun. This should be fun to hear.
Against Pittsburgh, 130 yards. Against Denver, 147 yards. Against New England, 145 yards. Against the Colts, 128 yards. Against Baltimore, 106 yards. The only game in the last 6 that he hasn't gone over that the prop total was the Miami game where they played 1/2 and he caught 76 yards. Like, maybe we're just overthinking it. This has been, it feels like a year of the stars with the. I mean, go down the list of all the stars, and when they're healthy, these props are just going over. So
is Diggs looking at his prop stat? I mean, is he checking FanDuel or Pinnacle before the game? I mean, like,
I don't know.
I'll throw it back to you guys. I mean, I'm being the kind of questionnaire today, but like, why isn't this being adjusted? Is it just because the adjustments have been so small? I mean, sometimes you got to look at a prop like that and you see a receiver that's completely just getting fed each week. What number does that have to be, Andy, for this weekend for you to say under? Because that's kind of, I look at a guy like that. It was kind of like me with Devontae Adams to score a touchdown. Everyone's like, oh, I can't believe you're laying minus 170 with a guy to score. And he would get the first touchdown every game. Like, what number does that have to be at for Diggs for you to be like, yeah, that's definitely an under? I don't know what it would have to be at.
I mean, last week was his worst week in a while, in 106 yards. That's. I mean, honestly, would I feel comfortable laying under on 106 yards? No. 115 maybe. So I don't know why am I worried about 92 if they just keep feeding him the ball. And you're right, they did look like frat bros. In that interview after the game, it was just like, oh my God, these guys are lifelong friends. So, all right. Anything else from this game, guys? Or did we cover everything?
Well, I mean, I'll just give the blanket statement that we give every week for the people who are new watching this. If you like an over, take it now, especially on a Friday. If you like an under, wait literally till an hour before kickoff and hope that either the number changes or the juice changes. That's what I'm doing. With the Devin Singletary thing, I'll probably wait until Sunday at least, and it could be an hour before kickoff before I put my Devin Singletary prop up because it'll change. Very often we don't see props go down. So I'll wait and see if it goes up. Hell, what'll happen is maybe it doesn't go anywhere and maybe the juice just changes. So if you like an under, wait. If you like an over, take it now on the Friday, because I think that you won't get better value as we get closer to the game.
Well, Matt, if it goes up and you bet the under and I'm on an over, there's still a chance we can both win, man.
There is. Maybe Devin Singletary gets 5 carries and a half, and maybe you get, hey, listen, you are very good at this, so I'm not going to, I'm not purposely going against you. It's just something I see. I won with Singletary's under last week, and I was very happy he only had 1 touch in the first half. That was fantastic. But who knows? It's going to be a different game plan against Kansas City.
I'm curious to see it, guys. And that's why, I'm taking the stab with the over, and I understand you guys' spot with the under, but, this KC versus the Bills game is going to be so interesting because would you say it's 2 very similar teams? So to me, it's which team's going to be the team that decides to get away from what they've been good at and do something else, and which team is going to just be the better, exciting, leave the pocket, throw it 50 yards. I mean, they're both such talented quarterbacks. Their offenses are so spread out. Is it the defense that makes it? Do we see a defensive play? Do we see an interception from either quarterback? Do we see a pick six? I mean, what's the make or break play? I know it's not a spread show, and we're not picking the ATS side here, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here as far as the props is which team is going to try and stick out by making that separate play or doing this something a little bit different. Because I don't think that these teams will trade touchdown after touchdown. Some team's going to have to establish the run game.
Yeah. All right. There we go. There's your Packers and Bucs, Chiefs and Bills.
Hey, Let me bring up one last thing. This is somewhat a spread thing, somewhat a prop thing. So we see that there's a lot of the props that are up that are who are the Super Bowl participants and what will the Super Bowl result be? What are your guys' thoughts on, instead of potentially parlaying a money line thing where if you know the 2 teams that you think are going to win, taking one of those 2 props instead and maybe getting more value?
I stick to player props. I think that's just too much of a roll of the dice, and I don't know. Some of that seems I don't know. To me, that seems a little silly. There's a little bit of math involved, but when I look at those and I go, the books are trying to trick me.
Are you referencing Matt winning who's going to win the bowl?
Well, so there's the props that say, all right, it's going to be Chiefs versus Packers. There's going to be Chiefs versus Bucs, Bill. It's got all 4 choices. And then there's the other prop that says, let's take it a step further. The Bills are going to beat the Packers. The Bills are going to beat the Bucs. So, and there's value, as
the Packers are going to beat the Bills.
Correct. And if you think that there's money line value, would you rather play the 2 money lines and parlay them together, or take one of the futures if you're so sure of it happening?
I'd rather parlay Kelsey over receptions, Stephon Diggs over yards. That's what I'd rather do.
I don't mind that, Matt, honestly. Obviously, I like what Andy's saying, too. Those 2 sound pretty promising, but I don't mind that, actually. I mean, look, I have plus 160 for Green Bay to win the NFC in my pocket right now, so I'm not really too desperate to run to the window to back them to win ATS, even though it's -3 and stuff like that, but so, if you look at that, I think that the problem with that is, Matt, is that people try and get, I'm the kind of guy where you can hedge stuff like that. You could hedge futures, but for stuff like that, you pretty much just have a team that you like, right? Or 2 teams that you're going to make it to the finals. And then that's kind of your pick. And then you ride with that team. So the problem with that is that people get so confused and so worked up trying to figure out, okay, what's the math on this? What are the odds in case I do that? And that's kind of where it goes all wrong. So, if you're like me, you're a Packers fan, but I also feel like they're going to go all the way this year, then there's no problem with making that prediction. But I'll also say this. I mean, let's face it, these are 2 games that could go either way.
Absolutely. All right, Matt, talk to us about some props you've been focusing on in college basketball. We're going to wrap up the show, but we want to touch on some sports that the 3 of us individually have been doing. So, Matt, what's been going on the college basketball front?
So, I mean, it's a lot of the same ones so far, and it's starting to develop some of the patterns. The first half overs with Creighton. I mean, they are especially in Omaha. I mean, they just play so well. Now, one of the losses I had on Wednesday was I got too cute, just took the Creighton side when I should have taken both sides. Province more than did their part, and the first half overhit, but Creighton's didn't. Gonzaga first halves have been great. I mean, they're just blowing these teams out, and they're scoring. We're getting 77, 78s, but they're scoring like 50, 51 points a pop at home in the first half. So you're getting all you need is the minimal value from the other team, and you're getting those. The most fascinating basketball game ever yesterday was San Jose State and New Mexico. Two of the worst offenses versus two of the worst defenses, and they put the total up at 146. It went well under, so they've got a rematch tomorrow. I don't know if the spread's out for that yet, but if that's in the 140s once again, maybe you look at the under for the San Jose State-New Mexico game once again, because they're so hideously awful when it comes to offense. But I mean, it's just finding trends and finding teams. Unfortunately, Duquesne's team total unders didn't hit this week because they had a really good second half, but they have been a slow team. So it's really just trying to find some trends when it comes to first halves and games. There are certain teams that are just hitting their overs. You brought up, Andrew, UMass. They continue to hit their overs. They play no defense. It's been amazing to see. So, and with regards to the back-to-backs, and I'll be real quick here, on the back-to-backs, they're very frustrating because you bet a result in the first game and it doesn't happen, but then it happens in the second game, like a team that's really good doesn't blow out the team in the first one, and then they do in the second one. So just be careful a little bit on the back-to-backs. I've tried to stay away from them because they're just so hard to figure out. And as Andrew said, for hockey, there's a lot more back-to-backs there too, and I'm sure there hasn't been as much consistency in the two games.
Andrew, what have you been doing from a prop perspective?
Well, obviously these NFL props and keeping it very, very light with the NBA. The NBA, it's overwhelming how many opportunities there are. So I've kind of just been monitoring it over the past week and a half, similar to what Matt's doing as well, and trying to find my niche, whether it's rebounding, assists. But it's the same thing I've been following is the rebounds, Andy, from last week when you asked me about it. You can really find some good mismatches, and that's kind of what I've found in the NBA is that it's not like a lot of other sports. Like you can't find a Diggs going over in his receptions, because with the NBA, more or less, it's per every matchup. I mean, every team, every opposition is going to present something new. So, but with the NHL guys, 5-0 start with me for the goal scoring props. I'm giving some to the clients, but the problem is it's just still if they're not so widely available. The goal scoring props are widely available, and if I do give those out, 1% or 2% of wagers. But if you tune into Puck Time Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. you can catch those. But for tonight, I have two props that I'm looking at, and they are goal scoring props for both of them. The first one is actually the last time I mentioned this prop, this was with these guys. So Connor McDavid to score a goal plus 125. Many people say to me, well, why would you bet plus 120 or plus 115 with a guy to score a goal? First of all, the ice time that he logs is absolutely ridiculous. He pretty much double shifts. He's out there for the majority of every power play, at least a large portion of it. And, it sounds very cliche and not a lot of stats can back this up. But whenever he's coming off a game where he had a lot of chances and a lot of shots and didn't convert, he usually follows that up. And that's the exact same thing I told these guys the last time he scored. And the last time he did score, he had a hat trick that night and had 3 goals. So that's my first one. Second one is a member of the New York Rangers. His name is Artemi Panarin. He is one of the highest paid players in the league, and he's now on a really, really talented roster. They've built a great mixture of vets and, youthful guys and young guys around him. And he's just kind of a guy, guys, that pretty much was just having so many chances throughout the season so far, and he's been in the right spots. The shot count has been there, but he just hasn't really been able to get it done. And he's playing a team in Pittsburgh that has been around in some games, but their goaltending is weak no matter who's out there. Whether it's Jari out there or not, I don't think that this team is good defensively. I think that if it's on a power play or even strength, I'm taking him. Artemi Panarin to score at plus 170. Great value on that.
That's awesome. Great stuff, guys. I've been concentrating on NBA player props, and I got a promo code right now, Test Andy, all one word. I have an NFL prop up for Sunday, and I have an NBA package up for tonight. You can select one of those, and you get it for $1. So that's a Johnny Detroit special. Created that today. So $1. Test Andy. See if you want to try out the props. I'm over 60% on NBA props. They've been going really well. My goal when I'm doing props, especially in NBA, is to find those props that go on big long runs, and I've got 2 of them that have been just cashing every night. But the problem is you're seeing the books are now slowly adjusting, and the number on one of the points total is getting higher and higher and higher, and the one on the rebounding total is getting lower and lower and lower. The rebounding is LaMarcus Aldridge. In every single game that DeMar DeRozan has not played in, LaMarcus Aldridge went over his rebounding total. And in every single game that DeMar DeRozan has played in, he's gone under. And Chance and I were texting the other night about just Chance lives out in Portland. He said he's been betting on under rebounds on LaMarcus Aldridge for 6 years because he just watches him. And he sent me a great text the other night. He said, yeah, after the first quarter, he's got 0 rebounds. He's just standing on the outside. And when he gets in the paint, he's softer than my belly, which I thought was just a great text.
Well, the NBA has changed, like it's just, there's not as many offensive rebounds anymore. Obviously, the open shot counts are up. I mean, the scoring is up in the league as a whole. Big men are relied upon to score now, or at least to be able to work from the elbow. So there's not as many big men in there. It's usually actually the smaller guys that have been, cutting through the key and making those runs. So it's hilarious because I remember you mentioned that one to me as well, Andy. And you see the size of these guys out there. It's like, who was it that there was somebody that had the ball the other day? I can't remember who it was. It's always funny to me seeing a center at the 3-point line and the guy defending them is like 7 feet away, like just in the paint. It's like you're in the NBA making millions and I don't think you can even shoot a free throw. Like, how offensive is that? Like, these guys, it's true. Like, big men hang out more on the outside now, Andy. So I've been watching those a lot for the rebounding props. I'm more interested in taking a rebounding prop under than over these days for these big guys.
Absolutely. He's the 6th best rebounding player on his own team. This is a big man. he's being out.
But Andy, people are going to take it.
All the guards.
If they're not watching every day like you are, people are going to bet it because they're going to say, "Oh, look, it's Aldridge," right?
Yeah,
that's why the number's there.
I'll give you a free one tonight. Your boy, Matt Tobias Harris, I got him under 6.5 rebounds at plus money. He's had 4 rebounds, 3 rebounds, and 3 rebounds in his last 3 games. He had a couple decent rebounding games, but for the most part, his rebounding total has really tailed off recently. So you can get that at plus money. And then I'm very proud of myself. I found this thing on DraftKings. They have this prop. Will a player get a double-double or not? And they're juiced really heavy. And I didn't realize you can parlay these. So I hit the first ever in the history of Wager Talk 3-leg parlay to not get a double-double. I took 3
not
guys.
Get a double-double.
So there was lots of congratulations sent my way for the double-double props. So I went back and played it again, and it hit. So I am 2-0 in the double-double 3-leg parlays on DraftKings. I'm thoroughly enjoying myself. It's a lot of fun. So, all right, guys, it's about time to get out of here. Super Bowl week is right around the corner, which means one of the most epic Prop It Up shows ever. We got the Propsies coming up. So, guys, I'm going to ask you to stay on after this because we're going to go over what we're going to do for the Propsies. I promise it's going to be a lot of fun. Matt, go ahead and plug yourself. What you got over the next 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I'm going to probably try and put my NFL props up tonight, at least for the Packers game tonight, because you know that some of the Chiefs props got held up because of the whole Mahomes news. So I'm sure they'll start to come up too. So I'll have my NFL props hopefully up tonight. And then, big weekend in college basketball. Saturdays are always fun. Sundays as well. So you can find me on Sports Memo. And by the way, don't forget, if you go to Sports Memo, they're doing a deal that starts tonight. It's $99, and you get every handicapper on the website for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you want me, Don Buster, Dr. Chuck, whoever, Hunter, you get everybody's plays for 3 days, and you can try us all out, and it's $99. And it's a crazy deal. I'm sure it was a Johnny Detroit special, but give us all a shot, see what happens, and see who you like.
All right, Andrew, pump yourself. What do you got?
That's a crazy special to be able to see who
really
who you want to ride with. That's 3 days to say, that guy, I like his write-ups. That guy, I like the way he approaches different games. So definitely recommend anybody go to Sports Memo and grab that. I was pumping it on Puck Time as well. I think it's a great package. And who else to look for but our guy Mid-Major Matt to grab that package with? For me, it's UFC time, man. I can't wait for tomorrow, Andy. I'm sure you're pumped up for it as well. I've lost my last 2 UFC wagers, but I'm still 8-2. So it was an 8-0 run, kind of back-to-back losses there, and hopefully get back in the winners column tomorrow night. Tonight, I'm in action in the NHL, and the card looks amazing for tomorrow. I'm really liking that, so I'm probably going to have some plays up for the NHL for tonight. And for the props, they'll probably be up tomorrow afternoon. I'll have my games for my picks for the entire weekend.
Nice. I've got an 4% NFL prop up right now. NBA tonight, I've got 3 plays up there, and including a double special, DraftKings double special. So enjoy that. So,
you're working on that sponsorship, aren't you? I can tell.
Well, it's the only site I can find it on, so I have to put the little disclaimer like it's only on DraftKings. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you so much, everyone. We always say it every week. You guys make this show possible for your passion with props. Hope we made you some money along the way, and hope you've enjoyed some of the content. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and at least give us a thumbs up. Everything helps. So that is Mid-Major Matt. That is Andrew McInnis. I am Andy Lang. Mid-Major Matt is on sportsmemo.com. Andrew and myself are on wagertalk.com. Have a great weekend, everyone. Let's cash a bunch of tickets, and we will see you next week on Prop It Up.